a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Okay.
Hello. I'd like to start this, open this gathering. If you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I hope this is all going to work. It's kind of exciting, something new. Welcome to our first new and improved Recreation Centers of Sun City Board Member Exchange. I'd like to thank all of you for attending today. I'm Dale Lair, the president of the 2022 Board of Directors. This board member exchange is audio and video recorded by RCSC management and staff. Please be advised there's to be no personal recording by any individual. And make sure that you take your cell phones out, put them on silent mode, and I'll try to remind you at the end, or Mike will. Just a personal thing, I may have to leave this meeting early, not because I don't really want to be here, but I've got some personal issues I got to take care of. I'd like to start with some introductions. Mike Egge, Board Vice President.
Good morning.
Darla Akins, Board Treasurer.
Good morning.
Alan Lenevsky, Board Secretary.
Good morning.
And other board members, Steve Collins, not here. Kat Femmel.
Good morning.
Karen McAdam.
Good morning.
John Nowakowski.
Good morning.
And Sue, who's operating our computer. Also present today is our General Manager, Bill Cook.
Good morning.
Jolynn Higgins. And Marcia Johnson, Corporate Executive Coordinator.
Good morning.
And I believe that's Teresa up in the booth, Director of Events and Entertainment. I'd also like to recognize Alan Kleinhans and Michael Crawford, Audiovisual Engineers. So I'd like to start this out with, are there any board members who would like to give an update on their committees or committee report?
I would.
Okay, Alan.
Okay, we have the Bylaws Committee, which has been working diligently for the last couple of weeks and will continue to work to try to adopt the bylaws, and I believe we're making progress.
Anybody else? General Manager Cook, could you give us an update on the Lakes East-West Maintenance Building, please?
Madam President, do I have to talk? Do I have to talk like that?
This is a casual affair.
Okay. So those of you who haven't seen it, the Lakes East-West Maintenance Facility is going up very rapidly. We expect to be complete by August. So right now there are no expected delays unless there's any weather that may develop over the next few months. We know that we had an issue, so way back when we were going through the planning stages, we had chosen a color, and it was based off of our architect's choice, based on what the trends are in the industry right now, and we went with a gray. And so some of the homeowners are now seeing the results of that coloration and that color palette, and we received some feedback on it, and so we actually took that into consideration, and we actually made a change. So now the color palette will be the same as the South Pro Shop. So if you've driven by the South Pro Shop, you'll know what the color is, and it's more of a earth tone. It will blend a little bit better. So things are going very well there.
Thank you.
Actually, yeah, that's true.
Okay, I would like to just explain the flow of this meeting, or gathering, I should say. Members are welcome to approach any microphone on the floor, and since there are several mics, throughout the room. We'll have to take turns. Please be courteous with one another. When it's your turn to speak, state your name and member number. Please be as clear and concise as possible. If you take a look at the screen up on the stage, you can see the form that we're going to be using during the exchange. If you have a concern or an issue, please be prepared to offer at least one suggestion. We will try to answer questions as they arise. If we don't have an answer, we'll put it in under the action category and we'll try to get back to you with that answer by our next exchange meeting. Before we move into the next member, I'm going to ask everyone in the audience to stand up or raise their hand if they agree with what the speaker said. This is a way for us to gauge the interest in a topic without having multiple people coming up and rephrasing the same issue. And then just some simple do's and don'ts. Do be respectful of others. Don't yell or shout from the audience. Don't clap or boo. Do consider all suggestions, and do be open to compromise. And with that, I'd like to start. So if anybody has something they'd like to talk about, come on up to a mic. All right, you've got the floor.
Hi there. Is that working? Okay, my name is Cheryl Sargent, RCSC number 122262, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Executive Board and all the members of the Best Friends Dog Club of Sun City. We've elected to have a single spokesperson rather than subjecting the board to repetitive speakers addressing the same issue. Our club is in desperate need of an indoor, climate-controlled training facility. Best Friends Dog Club was chartered on April 29th, 1993, and has continued both social and training/educational activities as conditions have allowed. Prior to the remodel of Fairway Rec Center, our training yard was located at the west end of the building in a detached, fenced area with mature shade trees. Unfortunately, during the remodel, our club was given a smaller space on the east side of the building in the direct morning sun. From the 2011 completion until June of 2015, we operated in that direct sunlight. In an attempt to make our space better, the club contributed $5,000 and petitioned for an overhead shade structure. While we appreciate the fact that RCSC granted our request for shade and the resulting shade structure does provide overhead shade, it simply does not provide adequate protection from the rising morning sun, nor does it provide protection from inclement weather conditions. Temperatures in the training yard at 10 a.m. in the morning have been recorded at 90 degrees plus, thereby making our space unusable the majority of the year. Additionally, our training storage waiting areas are set on either side of a walkway which is into the east entrance that's regularly used by RCSC cardholders. Training equipment, some of which is bulky and heavy, must be moved across that walkway in and out of the training yard according to the type of training class. Class sessions are quite often interrupted by people using both that walkway and the sidewalk around the training yard. We've even experienced RCSC cardholders walk through the fenced training yard while classes were in session and the yard filled with canines both on and off leash, rather than use the surrounding sidewalk. We must now keep all perimeter gates locked for the safety of both our dogs and handlers and those who would think it acceptable to enter while a class is in session. As you can imagine, our club can simply not operate year-round in its existing space. We need an indoor, climate-controlled space to provide Sun City residents with continuous and affordable training options for their canine companions. Often, we're the only training option available for Sun City seniors, offering classes at less than a quarter of the cost of most other facilities. We recently had an inquiry from a cardholder who just acquired a brand new puppy and was seeking our help to mold that little one into a well-mannered canine citizen of Sun City, along with calls from people wanting manners for their new rescues, let alone our members with service dogs who are unable to continue classes to keep those canine skills sharp. How disappointing to have to tell them that our classes are ending this week and will not be able to resume until November because our outdoor space is simply too darn hot. We're restricted even during operational months because we can only hold classes from 8 a.m. to 12, even in the best of months, which is November through April, and can only accommodate a small number of dogs in each given class in our current space. Just think how many dogs and handlers we could help with year-round classes in an indoor climate-controlled space. Please know this isn't a new idea. We've actively sought an indoor climate-controlled training facility since 2019. We've appeared before the Long Range Planning Committee, and we've made repeated requests to RCSC management. We've stood by and watched clubs that have indoor space get new indoor space while we continue to wait. It would be spectacular if we could celebrate our 30th anniversary next April in a new dog training facility. We leave you with the documents provided to both management and the Long Range Planning Committee back in 2019, along with subsequent requests and photos to substantiate some of our points. Thank you very much for the time and opportunity to address the board.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Oh, please, go ahead.
I thought we were going to raise our hand and see if we like that or not.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, sure.
All in agreement with the lady who just spoke, either raise your... Very good. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Alicia Brown, 50475. I'd like to talk to you about some of the golf operations in the town. I notice we've opened up our golf courses to almost everyone in the valley. We've turned into nothing but any other public course in the country. Could it be because we're the cheapest in the valley? It almost looks like we're using golf to subsidize our RCSC operations. We're not putting this money back into our courses, which are so poorly maintained and managed. We now sell golf passes to people who do not even live in Sun City. You can buy a $2,000 pass, and I don't know what the specific name of this pass is, but it gives these people who buy this pass almost the same rights that we have. They can have unlimited golf, they can get their tee times 12 days in advance, and they get to use our web portal. Again, these are non-residents. I believe that there is at least 200 or more so far of these passes, and that's not a bad deal with the price of the PIF being so high. Why not try it before you buy it? I pay for a golf pass. I use the lottery to make tee times, and I have to compete with these large groups, 30 or more, who get preferred tee times, all the outside passes and the outside golf tournaments. A year ago, Brian raised the limit from 16 to 30 players. This is a little Benny cost each player that belongs in one of these groups $2 extra. Who knows how many of these groups have outside non-residents in them just to be able to meet the 30-player limit. Outside tournaments have become a real nuisance. We, being the cheapest in the state to play, not only do these tournaments get prime time tee times, but they take up 4 to 5, 6 hours on our courses. Can't we schedule these later in the day so that our residents can get a game or two in? These tournaments this past weekend, 2 major tournaments. One for sure had 47 people in it. The other one, I believe, had 50 plus. We also had an RCSC men's tournament, 2 ladies tournaments, and the Bandits, who dominate Willow Creek. As a paid member, getting 2 to 3, 4 tee times is impossible. What happened to my rights here? This is ongoing. These outside tournaments are using our courses several times a month. It's getting ridiculous. How about we just open up everything in RCSC? Pools, pickleball courts, rec centers, make some money. This season, the cost of golf was passed on to outside play, a whopping $2. While that's really a big increase, it was also passed on to our RCSC residents who do not purchase the annual golf pass. Range balls also went up to $2. Why can't we raise outside play and not make our residents pay for our greed? There is nothing more frustrating than getting a tee time and ending up behind outside play. We still have groups on Tuesdays, which is Ladies' Day, that get on the golf course before we do, non-residents. Thank you for your time, and thank you for holding this meeting for us today.
Okay, thank you. Everyone in the audience, raise your hand if you feel there's a issue there. Okay. All right, thank you very much. And suggestions? Does this summarize your, I know, I'm trying to get it down to a couple words.
Raise the rate on outside residents? That'd be a big thing. More than $2. Come on, we pass that on to her. I have a friend here who paid $35 to play golf on Saturday. She lives here. She has her own golf cart. These people playing in these tournaments aren't doing that.
Okay.
And they're using our
Do you have
courses.
any other suggestions besides raising the rate?
Well, I would take a deep dive into the golf operation, and I'm sorry Brian's not here to discuss this, because I really don't believe anybody up here, which you're not really responsible for, but Mr. Cook needs to take a good look at this golf operation.
Okay.
Oh, and the large groups could play later. What? Well, that's, yeah, I think I mentioned, why can't the tournaments play at 11:30 or 12 o'clock? That way residents can get on the course. But when the residents do get on the course, you're following these tournaments because they do not get off in 4 hours. I played Saturday, and there were still people coming off the course from an 8 o'clock tournament at 12:50. And then they ran out of carts at Riverview, so nobody else could get carts to play. Again, that's outside play, so it maybe didn't hurt us. But we're just...
Are you on a league?
Yes.
You play on a league?
I play on a league.
Is your league play affected?
I play on the South Golf Course League, and Tuesday mornings I have to fight outside play to finish my round. I've actually been verbally assaulted by outside players. Whoa. Whoa, it's happened twice to 2 of us.
Okay.
Where that ever went, I don't know. But yeah, I think we forget about the residents here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we're going to have to follow up with Brian and Bill Cook and see what we can do.
I hope you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, Christy Spencer, 137489, and I'm going to offer my solution before I offer the problem. Cool decking, as Mike Hagee knows very well about cool decking, was at their properties meeting the other day, and they were talking about how expensive it is and how hard it is to maintain. Well, you know what? I'm really sorry about that, but my little dogs are barking, and they're going to bark louder and louder and louder as time goes along. So the suggestion I have is we got all this carry forward funding. What is wrong with using some of it to deal with cool decking for the pools? Thank you very much.
Okay, so the solution is we need to do more cool decking for the pools, but the problem is that all the pools have some kind of decking. We're trying to move away from cool decking, actually. I'm not sure I understand. Okay. Oh, Bill, I'm sorry.
So we are replacing a lot of our cool decking with rubber rock. So I think if you guys have been to, let me think, I think Marinette and Bell. So that's the plan, is to start utilizing that. But what we're trying to do is really trying to understand the longevity of that product. We've gotten a lot of great feedback. It's very soft. The coefficient of friction is great on it. It's not very slippery, but we don't want to spend money on something that potentially won't last longer than the traditional cool decking. So that's kind of the path we're heading down as we replace cool deck. That seems to be the right path, but we need to figure that out first.
Okay, thank you. All those who agree with Christie's comments, could you raise your hand? Okay, very good, thank you. Go ahead.
Karen Sharman, 117652. This is a kind of a response to Alicia's comments, because I wholeheartedly agree with some of that. I'm not certain I've got all this stuff right. I'm on the Golf Advisory Committee, and I don't remember these past, of course, it rotates because whoever's president and representatives are on the Golf Advisory. So I've only been on the Golf Advisory for the last year, but in that last year, I don't remember anybody really discussing this $2,000 ticket, and I'm aware of it. I thought it was $2,500, but I'm not exactly sure. But I do know that they do get, that the original plan of it was that they were not to get the priority tee times that members had 7 or 12 days in advance, and they had 5 days or whatever. I'm not exactly sure because I don't know all of the ins and outs of this. But what troubles me is when I just found out when Alicia said that they have access to the portal. And I find that really interesting because when I get on the portal, I have to put my member number in. Now, if they're an outside person, how do they get access to the portal? Is my question. So I don't think any outside people should have access to that portal to get tee times or to get any information, to be real honest. So I don't have an answer for it. I'm just making a comment. Okay. But I do think that this is something that I'm going to bring up at the next advisory committee. Well, it'll be, I'm not sure. It's the third Thursday, so it'll be a couple weeks yet, or a week and a half. But I'm going to bring this up at the advisory board just because I think that we need to pay attention what's going on in our courses and at least make sure that our residents get priority. And this is kind of menial, but we've got a son that comes down and plays golf, and when we go out and play golf, he pays $46 he doesn't have to pay a cart fee, but he pays $46 for a green fees to play on the course for 18 holes. So if it sounds to me like some outside play gets a great advantage and outside non-residents get an advantage, and I think we need to look at that one way or another.
Okay. Everyone?
You don't need to take a vote. I just was making a comment.
Well, you brought some good ideas. Great show of hands. All right, thank you very much. Okay.
Hi, Farrell Ford, 126399. And I want to talk about the Performing Arts Center, which everybody's probably tired of hearing about. But I am a proponent of having a standalone center for a number of reasons. The first being it's probably going to be self-sustaining, but a bigger reason I don't think's even been considered is it could bring in possible revenue to this community, because there are organizations in the Valley looking to rent space for performances. The other problem I think it would solve is you do away with the issue with the gym wants the space, but they've got to play or whatever. And I just think it brings some extra benefits. I would also like to suggest that the board or RCSC look into an organization called the American Society of Theater Consultants. They have helped build performing arts centers in Minneapolis, in Fort Worth, in Atlanta. They are experts at it. And just as to get their opinion on what's best to be done, they estimate that a state-of-the-art performing arts center should cost between $200 and $400 a gross square foot. And I just think they have a lot of information that might help before decisions are made.
All right, thank you very much. A show of hands? All right, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't even see you, Steve. You blend right in.
Barb Wagers, 114211. Every RCSC marquee throughout Sun City has the words Original Fun City. Being a docent and on the board of trustees for the Del Webb Sun Cities Museum, I have done a lot of research and have read a lot of history on Sun City and have never found anything saying that Sun City is the original Fun City. So I emailed 3 Sun City historians, and I asked them, where did that come from? And all 3 of them, in separate emails, told me the same story. They said that it was Gen X, the former general manager's idea to put the original Fun City on the marquees to show that Sun City is fun, rather than the Sun City of volunteers, which we are known for. She felt that having volunteers up there would mean that we would work here in Sun City. So the original Fun City has basically no historical value. However, the City of Volunteers does hold historical value. We all know the 3 biggest organizations here in Sun City, and that's the Prides. They've been around since 1980. Do you know Pride stand for Proud Residents? Now I just blew it. Proud Residents Independently Donating Essential Services. So when you see those people out there working in Sun City, volunteering for Sun City, we just say those are the Prides. Well, they are a very big group of volunteers. We also have the Sun City Posse, who has been here and will be celebrating their 50th anniversary next year. They are all volunteers. The Sunshine Services has been here since 1961, doing awesome volunteer services for Sun City. So we see those 3 major volunteer organizations that are huge to us. But I want you to think about all the clubs and organizations that everybody belongs to. We are all volunteers. So when you look at the hospital or the library, those are volunteers. When you look at the coyotes on the medians of Del Webb Boulevard, those were made by volunteers. I was at the Sun City concert on Saturday. Those are all volunteers entertaining us. So think about, we really are the city of volunteers. So my suggestion is that you take off the marquee Original Fun City and you put on there the City of Volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Show of hands. Oh, wow, very good. Okay, thank you. Let's see, I think, Lynn, you're next.
I'd just like to, Lynn Leibold, 102-369. Add a little something to Alicia's speech. For at least 10 years, I have run a Sunday group at South, and we're at least 5 or 6 tea times. In the last 3 weeks, we have been bumped for a full course tournament twice. Yesterday, we had the mixer, South Mixer. There was a tournament that went off before we did and was finishing up and didn't all get in by the time we were going out. It's nice to have that income. All of those were outside tournaments. I don't mind having outside tournaments, but we have more than one course. Are they being spread among the other courses too? So these are questions that I think we need to address at the Golf Advisory Council, but I'd like RCSC to be aware of the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Show of hands. Okay.
Dale? Dale?
Yeah, go ahead.
So if I can just address what I know, the outside tournaments are only booked when we have open tee times. So all the members have the advantage of being able to book their tee times seven days out. The tournaments, the way I understand it, is that the tournaments are booked when there's open tee times. But let me bring this all back to Brian, and we will pull together a full response, to all of the concerns that have been brought up.
Dale,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
what is our responsibility to the signs that Barb was talking about?
I don't know that. Do you?
We don't own those signs. The marquees, you're talking about the ones, there's two of them, correct? Which ones are you referring to?
Marquees, those are RCSC.
Oh,
I handle those.
Okay,
Not the-
gotcha.
Not the community entry signs.
Gotcha, okay.
Okay. All right, I believe it's your turn, sir.
Dennis Crooks, 158835. I've only been here a number of months. Is it my understanding that the Duffyland Dog Park is under your purview?
Yes.
Your control, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And is that for Sun City residents only? Is that meant to be Sun City residents only?
Yes.
Okay. About 2 weeks ago, there was an attack by a gentleman brought in 2 dogs that attacked a pit bull, and it left pretty bloodied up and so forth. And the man took off in his truck. Last week, the same gentleman came back with the same 2 dogs, attacked my boxer, dang near killed her. I'm up to $2,000 in vet bills right now, and she needs more. The problem is, you're running a place that has no video cameras, unlike Youngstown. You're running a place that has no identification for anyone coming into the dog park whatsoever. The man came in both times, took his dogs quickly, and left. I have spent money to track him down. He lives in Glendale. It would seem that you guys, every other rec center, without your card and your card number, you can't go anywhere. But in the dog park that you are running, you are responsible for, you are running a place that is grossly mismanaged, and there is no security whatsoever. Does that make you liable for something, do you think? The police, all I got was the license plate number of the gentleman and his vehicle. That was it. Police won't help. Animal control is useless. They won't help. I hired a private investigator to find out who it was. But this is something that you people need to address. I will tell you this. While my dog was being attacked by a dog about 85, 90 pounds, I pulled the dog off myself. I wish I would have been bitten, because then you guys would have a real problem. There's all kinds of lawyers that would have been looking at you guys for running a place that is just grossly mismanaged. I will leave it at that. I see a lot of people here with dog whatever thing, but you need to do something to shore that place up.
Do you have, you've mentioned about access controls, that you have to have a card or something to get in. That's one thing you've...
Not at the dog park.
No, I'm not talking about suggestions. Okay, you've done a good job telling us what the issue is. Suggestions to improve it. Video cameras?
That would be one. You need to have something that identify who is going in and out of the dog park.
That's the access control I mentioned.
And you don't have that.
Okay.
You don't have, those are 2 suggestions off the top. I would think you guys who are running the place, you're smart people. You need to find something, because, like I said, had I been bitten, you guys would be in a world of trouble. My attorney would be I'd have an attorney going after you guys. You know that's what would happen. So I'm just bringing this up before you because this is a problem. And
Okay.
That's all I have to say, I guess. Thank you.
Okay. Show of hands? Oh, that's a big problem. Okay. Okay. Way in the back there.
Mary Van Meveren, I just got a new number, 160429. What I want to ask is, when I'm out golfing, it's been on more than one occasion where people are walking on the golf course or walking down the cart path and we're trying to tee off, and nobody does anything about it. This has happened quite a bit lately. And I'm concerned about if it's just a couple of us ladies and there's 2 or 3 men walking the course to get from A to B. And I did ask one of the workers the other day why they don't say anything. And they said they've been told not to confront these people, not to approach them and just let them go by. But if we start doing that, how many people are going to be walking our golf course? Not only that, but I fear for our safety as women. We're not as strong as guys. But anyway, a lot of times you also see people walking their dogs. I have nothing against dogs. I love dogs. But I don't know why people are walking their dogs on the golf course, on the cart path, and sometimes don't even bother to pick up the dew afterwards. My suggestion would be that those workers on the course that are there would be given some authority to ask these people to get off the course and tell them that that's just not allowed. Right now, they have no authority. They just have to let them go. They said the only person that has authority is the superintendent, and the superintendent is not on the golf course, as far as I know. That's all I have. Thank you.
Bill?
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't we have rangers out there that take care of that stuff?
So when that happens, I would ask that you call the clubhouse and they will address it. So they'll send a ranger out, or they will send, the supervisor or whomever, but they'll get somebody out there to address it. Well, I mean, they do. They absolutely, well, they can ask them to leave. No. Okay.
The rangers can.
Yes.
Yeah, the rangers can ask them to leave.
Sure.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, show of hands. All right. Ma'am, you're next.
Lori Bailing, 147066, the gentleman that talked about Duffy Land with the access and everything. So I was just wondering if it might be possible to use something like the card access that is on the east door of Fairway, where it's a little spot that you have to get on your RCSC card, and you have to go to the corporate office, and they only put it on your photo ID, at least when I did it. And so it makes it so that only RCSC cardholders can use the facility. And I know that that's in an outdoor area without a associated building, but there's maybe solar chargers or something like that that might help that situation. So just an idea for a solution.
Yeah, good suggestion. Thank you. Is there anybody else? I know you've already been up. I'd just like to give people who haven't been up to have a chance. Go ahead, Jean.
Oh, okay. Thank you. What a great day. Nice turnout. Yeah. Great idea. One little issue, and I have a suggestion.
Just I know you already gave your
148753.
Thank you.
Thank you. When you started the meeting, you called it Welcome to the First Board Member Exchange. Very small little point, but could we change the order of the words and call this the Member Board Exchange? That's it.
Show of hands? Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, ma'am, way in the back.
155488. I know there has been some discussion about making the tennis courts at Lakeview into pickleball courts. Initially, I thought that was a really good idea. I live close to Lakeview, and I am concerned about the noise. That it would be right next to mini golf. We have the hillside, I believe it's called, that a lot of people walk on, that a lot of people like to go and, get some serenity. I know that the tennis courts aren't used very often, and neither are the shuffleboard courts, but I don't think there'd be enough room there. Also, I don't think the lawn bowlers would appreciate the noise either. So I just want you to consider that if you're moving forward with that idea. I am not against pickleball courts. I think we need as many as we can get, but I am concerned about the noise of the play. And a solution would be just to consider it. Also, maybe survey your members to see how they feel, because I think there's a lot of people that use the hillside. I always want to call it hilltop, but I think it's called hillside. And the lake is so beautiful there, and it's just a feeling that you don't have at any of the other rec centers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Show of hands. All right, thank you. Does anybody else that hasn't had a chance to speak would like to come up to the mic? I'm going to be leaving, so. Go ahead, sir. You're live.
I'm live on TV. Anyway, the name is Jim McGranahan, number 19842. I just had I'm a snowbird and I'm getting ready to leave shortly, and I just wanted to update my files. I had a couple questions, and I'm sure that they've been addressed, but I don't have, anyway. The PIF fee thing for $4,000, that's been approved and that's concrete now?
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes? Yes.
Yeah, so it's definitely set up now as a positive. Number 2, quorum. Did we ever address the quorum issue?
You mean for the annual membership meeting? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, or the board meeting, yeah, the annual board meeting.
The annual membership meeting? No, I think that is in the bylaws committee, is it not?
That's correct. It will be addressed. It will be considered, is what I can say. We're rewriting the bylaws.
It's in progress.
It's in progress, but currently we have none, or we're operating under what was it, the 1,200 people or something?
Right around there, that's correct.
Okay.
The current bylaws are in effect, and until they're changed, they're in effect.
Yeah.
There was a motion at the annual membership meeting to lower the quorum to 500 people, but until that happens, we're still operating with the bylaws the way they are at 1250.
So at the next board meeting, which I think is at the end of this month,
No. There's no quorum for membership to attend a board meeting. The only quorum is we have to have a certain number of board members present. But at the annual membership meeting, there's a quorum of the members that need to take place.
Oh, I see.
That's, yeah.
So in the interim, all you have to have is a quorum of the board.
Correct.
The annual membership meeting, or whatever you call it, board meeting, then you will be under the old quorum rule, but then you will change it. Is that what we're saying here?
It's under consideration, yes.
I see.
Okay.
And this is a massive issue. I don't know how we can, I'm lost as to where this Mountain View project is. I know that we had 90-day extension, or whatever you call it, moratorium, which expired, came up for a vote for a 30-day extension, which was voted down. So exactly what is the process now? Where are we going and what are we going to do?
General Manager.
So the moratorium ended yesterday. So we are going to pursue now a detailed design. So we're entering into the detailed design phase, which I know somebody had brought up, bringing in professionals to take a look at the Performing Arts Center, the gymnasium. So that's what the detailed design is it now takes and pulls in all of those experts associated with each of the facilities that are going to be developed down in Mountain View. So we will then get the detailed design, and then from there, there's permitting. So we're probably 18 months out, given the time frame to get permits. So we're going full forward now.
So do I understand from this, that we will have one architect or architectural firm now drawing up new proposals, or I'm lost here?
No, we have a proposal that's already been approved by the board. That proposal is what we are moving forward with.
I see. And so the goal is to take that proposal forward, maybe amend the plans, and then go to bid?
We have to get the detail.
So we're not amending anything. We're going forward with, so we have a high-level design that was approved by the board. And so now we're going to take that high-level design and do a detailed design. So now, what you've seen is a rendering and a pass-through and an overview that shows, like I said, a high-level design. Next will be how specifically big the pool will be. It will be all the details with respect to the audiovisual within the Performing Arts Center, the seating, exactly, what seats are going to be utilized. It's now we're in the phase where we will do all of that detail, and we're already in the process of pulling in some of the clubs who will be utilizing the space. We're going to be getting inputs from those clubs to say this is what we want. And so that will be incorporated into the detailed design. So this is, this is the next phase, and then after that, it's construction.
I see. So basically, we're fine-tuning the original proposal. Now, did you I assume you talked to several architectural firms to get proposed before you selected this one?
We haven't done anything since we've been in a moratorium. So now we can start, with that process.
Okay.
And it will go to bid. Now, you haven't selected the contractor, you've selected the architects, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So I assume then it will go to bid once the detail section is handled.
That's correct.
Second question on that. I picked up at the last board meeting, I picked up the financials. And I was told, these are rumors, of course, so I don't know what they're, but anyway, that we've got like $60 million for this project or these projects, whatever. I didn't find $60 million anywhere on those financials. so I don't know what I did wrong.
$60 million for which projects? We have a PIF budget, and we currently have roughly I think it's a little over $40 million in our PIF account. So 27 million of that has been set aside for Mountain View Phase 1 and 2, which includes gymnasium, Performing Arts Center, and the pool. And then there's another 13 million for Phase 3, which is, has been suggested that we would do a multi-story building for pickleball, but that's to be determined. So we have a 25-year PIF budget that's been approved. And it's based off of the $4,000 PIF and assumptions made on how many turnovers and sales of houses. And so the PIF, we never do anything unless we have the money. So the PIF budget assumes that we have the funding to perform all of the PIF projects that have been approved by the board.
So if I understand this correctly, those people who are opposed to the entertainment center at Mountain View. They want it located somewhere else. That's out of the question now. It will be part of this project.
Again, we have an approved project where the Performing Arts Center and the pool and the gymnasium are all going to be on the current Mountain View footprint. So that has been approved, and that's what we're moving forward with. Maybe the board can answer if there's going to be any changes. Only the board can make those changes.
I see. But anyway, it will go to bid. We do not have a contractor selected.
That's correct.
Hello?
Yeah. You're getting a little ahead of us. You're way down the road, and we're just now, we don't even have detailed plans yet, so.
Yeah.
But when it comes to that point, there'll be competitive bids, and we'll go through that whole process.
But we definitely have locked in on the architects.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, this is just a side note. You could toss it. You can do whatever you want with the thing. On the attempted recall thing, it's interesting. I've been on several boards, one nonprofit and two for-profit. Anyway, on the recall vote, where they attempted, the fellow, I forget his name, attempted to recall 3 board members. Was put to a vote of the board twice. The interesting thing is the 3 recalled members, or attempted recalled members, voted on their own recall. You can't do that.
That's not true.
Oh, I hope not, because they have to recuse themselves.
Correct.
Okay. All righty. That's about all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we go any further, I have to apologize. I have to leave. Wasn't my plan, but life happens. I'm going to turn over everything to Mike, and I sure would like your input about what worked, what didn't work, so we can tweak and make changes as necessary. So I hope this is working out for you. I'm excited about it, and certainly look forward to your input. And again, my apologies for having to leave early. Thank you.
You're going to pay.
Yep, sorry. Okay.
Okay. Next speaker, Mike.
Mike Wendell. Is this on? Okay. Yeah. 145206. I just want to talk about transparency in big projects like Mountain View and even the golf shed and all these other things. What seems to be missing is an understanding of the steps that we will go through to get from inception of we want to do this to completion. And along the way, there's going to be certain milestones that ought to be established and be made known to the membership of, we're in this phase, we've approved this, we've spent this much money, the next stage is this, and the next stage, and so on. And with Mike Whiprud, I think we've got a great hire that came into place with buildings and so forth. You ought to be able to define this, set this down, and make it very clear as to what points the board comes in and gets interjected into it to say, we approve going forward to the next phase. And what that phase is and what's been done to date. A lot of the questions coming up are backtracking. I was here, I went to the town halls for Mountain View. I sat there in person. I know a lot of things that were asked for, but again, I haven't seen the process, even though I've been here, as to where we're at, where we're going. But I see a lot of people come up and question it, and they're going back, and are they backtracking? Are they whatever? You're just not giving us enough information. You're not putting it on the website. You're not defining it. You're not making it available to anybody. I ought to be able to go to the website and look up Mountain View and see, here's what Mountain View's phases are. Here's where we're at. And recognize there's potential changes that could be made along the way. Budgetary, different things, and understand this is the point we'll go out and we'll put it out to bid. This is the point we'll go out and we'll break ground. This is the point we build phase 1 or phase 2. These types of things. And that's what's lacking. Okay. Nobody knows that. So everybody comes, everybody lines up, and I read it in the paper and everything else about Mountain View, and I recognize there were things done in the beginning, but I don't know how we kind of got where we're at, and I have no easy way to go in and see where we're at. And I think the board should definitely look at large projects like this, task the RCSC to put that information online in a readable format for the members to identify milestones at which the board will come back to approve the review and then approve the next phase. And I think that's very important to cutting down a lot of the questions, a lot of the so-called sometimes anger, just confusion and everything else. So that's kind of what I think the board needs to do, especially with big projects, to identify it's coming from PIF, it's coming from wherever. Same thing when you get down to finances, carry forward. We seem to have been putting money in the left pocket here for years, and all of a sudden it amounts to a lot of money that could have solved several small problems along the way had the RCSC had the foresight to say, I have additional funding beyond what the assessments are. I should build something into my budget to try and get some of these other things done, to be more proactive, not reactive. Get out of this habit of, if it breaks, I fix it. Get in the habit of, I need to look at it and say, what do I need to do now? What can I fit in this year? What do I have? Rather than building it. You already have rainy day funds for, capital reserves and other things. It's an insult to call that a rainy day fund. That should be money that gets used in some form along the way because it was intended for operational. So I look at it and say, operationally, we've done well just to keep the buildings open, the doors open, the lights on, the place is clean, but we've done a poor job of planning for the future, of communicating things to the residents, to the membership. And if anything, use some of that money. Maybe hire a true director of communications to truly look at how that information gets disseminated out to the people. The board can direct RCSC to go out and provide that functionality. It's up to Bill Cook or the RCSC to come back and propose, what do I need to hire to do that? But you need to put that communication in front of us. You need to let us know what's going on, why it's going on, how it's happening.
Okay.
So,
Got it.
and then one last thing, the member board exchange. You say the word board member, that's you guys. You say board/members, that's us. No one says slash. That's the reason for wanting to change it. Member board, there's no confusion.
Okay.
It's an exchange between both parties, both ways. And that's a problem that I personally see. And Jean's comment was well made. It should be member board, because then there's no confusion about you guys and us guys. Thank you.
All right. So show of hands, people. Great. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mike.
Mike, if I could just address a couple things. So with respect to the communication, I've actually asked Mike Weeper to enhance our monthly management report. So if you read the monthly management reports, we actually have a status of red, yellow, or green in terms of the, the ability to complete the project. Also from a budgetary perspective, we have now the total budget associated with each of the projects and how much we've spent to date on that. And then Mike gives a detail as to what has been done since the monthly management report, the prior monthly management report. So if you read those monthly and then you keep those, you'll have a status of what's been going on with all of the major projects. Secondarily, with respect to the carry forward, it's nothing that has been hidden. So it's in our financials. The cash balance shows what our carry forward is. And so we do utilize that carry forward. We budget to use that every year. This year we budgeted to use $1.2 million of the carry forward for operations. So just a reminder that we haven't raised assessments in 5 years, okay, because we are not we don't feel like there's a need for that because we have this carry forward. Now, we've been very fiscally responsible, and so that's why the carry forward continues to expand. But we do budget to use it, and we have a budget and finance committee that looks at that every year and approves that budget. So that's where we are with that carry forward. Now, it's nice that we had it so that we can we had no budget for our IT improvements. So $500,000 of that was used to improve our IT. We have a security initiative that's, we're talking about Duffy Land and having issues with access control. Well, the security initiative will include that. Our vendor that created the RFP has included Duffy Land for cameras as well as access control. But without the carry forward, we would have to raise assessments to cover that cost. So it's not as if we're trying to hold on to it.
Mr. Cook, I want to stop you right there because I brought this up, and your comment is nothing but being defensive over, I'm doing a good job. I don't think you are, and that's my opinion. The point is, I was at the meeting
these meetings? Are we going to allow?
Yeah, I think we're kind of out of order here, Mike.
No, but I was at the meeting where the board was surprised at how big the carry forward amount was. We're not talking about $1.5 million from last year. We're talking about something that's 15 or 16 million.
It is not 15 or 16 million. As of now, I believe it's $10,200,000.
It's not clear in the management report.
Okay, Mike.
If we continue to use it, we'll eventually have nothing. So I'm trying to be fiscally responsible. There's projects that are coming up down the road. This year, we've budgeted to use 1.1, but with inflation and the cost of materials and such, I have no idea where this year is going to end.
So what is it? Is it 10 million? Is it 12 million? It's not $1.5 million.
No, I believe it's around 10.2 million at this point. It adjusts based on our operations,
yes.
So I don't know the exact number.
Yes, okay. And I'm saying is, being the lowest of any senior retirement community is not something to be proud of if we're not using the money effectively.
So there's also reserve.
You say I haven't raised fees.
Okay. So there's also reserve analysis that gets done by every single community such as ours. If you look at Sun City West, they do reserve analysis, and typically what they've expected, and that's a percentage of your assets. We currently have about $110 million in assets. What a typical reserve should hold is roughly 50 to 60% of those assets. Okay, so $50 to $60 million. So we need to have some reserve against those assets. Now we know that we're not going to have 8 of our facilities go down, but if something does happen to 1 or 2 of our facilities, we need to have that reserve. So we've been questioned on that reserve as well, so we need to keep that. If we keep eating into that, then we will not be properly reserved.
Okay, and I'd just like to make a point, and again, Mike, I understand your passion about these things, but let's try to minimize the interruptions and speaking over one another. I would like to ask Bill if we could consider creating a page on our website dedicated to creating a timeline that informs everybody, because I think that's part of what Mike's talking about, and there is a lot of confusion as to the steps for any project. Right? The approval, the design, a lot of people say, well, it's design. Well, that's a conceptual design, as Mr. Whiprud said. Doesn't mean that we have final drawings that we can send out for quotation. So if we could create a mechanism that would...
I believe that the management report is that mechanism. I'm not going to present our project plans because those things change. And so what I don't want to do is have people managing our projects. I will absolutely give where we stand, what we've accomplished, where we are from a budgetary perspective, and whether or not we feel like we're, green, yellow, or red. If there's any issues and we think its project is red, we will certainly share that information. There's nothing to hide, but I don't want to get down into the weeds with respect to project plans.
Okay. Okay, we can talk about it.
Sure.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, the next speaker, okay, Randy.
Sorry, my voice is messing up here. Randy Becker, 119810. It was mentioned that for Mountain View, we're getting to the planning time to do plans, and you'll need input from the different clubs as to what is exactly needed in their space. For example, I'm with the basketball group, and the layout for the gymnasium for people that are 55 and older needs to be a little differently than it does for high schools and teenagers and stuff. And it's real important for us to use the space that way. My question is, how do we go about giving that input, and how do we know that our input has been received and accepted?
So I know, unfortunately, Dale had to leave, but she has been planning the meetings with clubs. So we just actually had a meeting last Friday with the water volleyball club. So at their meeting, we basically showed the rendering where the pool was and just explained that, right now is when each of the clubs should be defining what your requirements are. So I would say at this point, what each club should be doing that will be utilizing that facility is define your requirements. And then you could submit that to the board, and then we will, then when we get to the detailed design phase, we will make sure that we try and incorporate as much of that as possible.
I couldn't hear all that, I'm sorry. But so for basketball, how do we set up the appointment for that? Do I have to send something to the board?
So as a club, if you would, pull together a list and write down what your requirements are. So if there's specific requirements with respect to 55 and older that you feel should be incorporated into it, then pull that together and send that to the board. And then that will be what we will do is as we gather all of those, we will send those to whichever of the vendors that are designing and developing each one of the components of Mountain View, and we'll incorporate as many of those as we realistically can.
I'm sorry to be stupid, but I don't know how to send it to the board.
So you can send it to, what's the board address?
It's board office.
Board office, right?
At suncityaz.org.
Board office at suncityaz.org.
Okay, thank you.
Mary Sukup, 131008. I had no intention of speaking today, and it's totally on a subject that you really haven't talked about except projected budgets brought this question to my mind. I live 2 blocks away from the new Inspirata Point. Is Sun City or RCSC going to profit at all from that facility? Are we going to are all those people that are going to move into that, I don't know how many units there are. It looks like a bazillion right now, but I think it's 165. They're all Sun City residents, I'm assuming, when you move into that type of a facility? And we'd get profit from them all?
Any of the any of the facilities that are in Sun City, we do receive a PIF, and we do receive assessment. So, and we have independent agreements that go back to many years. So
right. No. Okay. That's cool. I was just wondering because that's a nice hunk of money looking at projected. A projected budget. Also, my understanding is that the facility is sort of some kind of a buy-in type thing, and then plus a monthly fee. Do we get anything on the, I forgot what the other fee is called that you all pay with when you buy your house in Sun City? We all had to pay $3,000 or $4,000. Which I'm not objecting to, but I'm just wondering, does that facility get covered by that type of a thing?
So it's dependent upon the agreement that's in place with each one of the facilities. So for example, I'm trying to think of the one that's right down the street. They are building 150 new units, and we just had a meeting with their CFO and CEO. And so with each of those new units, we explained to them exactly what the new PIF is today, and they already pay us assessments on their units. Well, they pay us the $248, and then the resident pays us the other half. So, but it's different based on the agreements that have been in place, before my time, but.
Okay, thank you.
Susan Bjork, 112650. So you talk about this management report, and what I'm confused about is it's clear that there's lack of transparency. That's been the theme throughout since I started attending these board meetings. And myself being fairly new, not new as a homeowner, but new in paying attention, because I just moved here, the 40 million has been a point of contention for many of the homeowners and the lack of transparency. So I am not against improvement. I was just trying to educate myself. So what I'd like to understand is when I went to the board to find out how I could get information about the research that was done for the clubs, because like, for instance, this gentleman with the basketball club, I would think that that research would have been done ahead of time in planning Mountain View. So that's kind of what I was looking for. I went to the board, they directed me to the office, the corporate documents. I filled out that document, and I was rejected in seeing any of the corporate documents by Bill Cook alone.
Nope.
It was not, well, there was no full board member vote, because I do know that for a fact.
The board
So why-
approves that. Those
Yes, and they
requests.
did not vote on it.
Doesn't have to be a vote.
Yes, it does. In the bylaws, look at 2BA or whatever that, I don't have it now because I didn't plan on speaking, but instead of just flat out rejecting me, why wouldn't you just say, here are the management reports? So that's kind of the lack of transparency. And yes, I'm mad because I was trying to educate myself so that I wouldn't have to be up here doing this and find out what research has been done and how we're coming to spend this 40 million on one facility. But I was rejected, and you didn't even offer, look at the management reports, here's some places where you could go. Why wouldn't you want to do that? It doesn't smell right, is all I'm saying. So transparency is what I'm gonna say again.
I don't remember what you specifically asked, but typically if it's detailed operational, where are the numbers with respect to this? We're not going to share that because we are in the contract phase and we can't share numbers openly and in public because we're still negotiating.
You just said that the management reports display those numbers, and I didn't really care.
It displays our budget and it displays what we've spent year-to-date on the budget, and it explains exactly where we are in terms of what activities have taken place since the last management report.
And when I presented it to you, I presented it both to the board and you, that all I wanted to do was understand kind of what was the process, what kind of surveys went out, where did we get to this plan of taking away the pickleball and all of that to redesign this, and where did the 40 million come from? That's all I wanted to know.
So those have been, as we've had board meetings, and I would invite the board to address these, so, I mean.
Yeah, well, again, we've talked numerous times in the board meetings and referenced the ad hoc committee for Mountain View, the town halls. I mean, again, this process predates me. I mean, these guys have been, the board has been working on this project for 4, 5, 6 years. So
I get that, and all I was looking for was, just information about how you went about it, and I was sent on a goose chase. So I just want that to be known, because I went to you guys in good faith, trying to understand and get this transparency that everybody's been asking for. Again, I am all for. As a matter of fact, when I went to the display of the 3 different plans, so I'm assuming you're going with Plan 3, which is the total revamp, I actually thought I understood the security because I know what's going on down at Grand. And so I thought that part was good. However, you can't just change a facility on one aspect. And it just doesn't seem to be much research ahead of time, because there's a lot of differing opinions. And I'm just worried we're spending 40 million on something that's not going to get the use.
okay, let's
So.
let Sue.
I would just like to comment that what we've had in the past, we had 2 town hall meetings, and that was about 5 years ago, where we had several people tell us exactly what they wanted at Mountain View. And there was an afternoon session, there was an evening session. It came out of there predominantly, they wanted the Performing Arts Center, they wanted their pool, and then through emails we heard they definitely wanted the gym. So those were the 3 areas that we looked at. After that, then we went to an ad hoc committee, which I was a part of, and the ad hoc committee then looked at the current surroundings, had a member from each area at Mountain View on the ad hoc committee, so that we could openly talk about things that we saw and needed. That report was then presented to the board. At that point, the board approved that, and then we started moving forward on it. So those are the steps that we took in developing this, and it's been going on for quite some time. I know the Performing Arts Center, they've asked for 27 years, so it's not something new. It is something that has been there for quite a while.
Okay, I appreciate that, Sue. I guess I wonder when that follow-up meeting was, because of the lapse of time, it seems that there's been some changes in what people want and what people don't want, and I just think that the lack of transparency of how this went about. I mean, I was looking on the website to get information, and I am all for it, but again, using one architect and not getting another architect's, perspective on a $40 million facility just doesn't bode well with me. I understand he has experience in Sun City, but I would recommend on a project that size that you get another opinion from an architect to see what they think. Just because this guy thinks that this is what should be done, human mistakes are made. So, but you guys know all this because I've written it all to you. I just wish you would be a little bit more transparent, and nothing came out of the 90-day moratorium, so I don't even know why it came about. And again, there was confusion on the board of why it came out. I have those emails to back that up, and it's just very frustrating. I just wish there were more transparency, because it's not there, and it doesn't look good.
Okay, Karen, did you want to make a comment? It's
So I realize that I represent a minority position on the board, but one of the things that I would like to just offer is that anytime we come up with a discussion about where we are on Mountain View right now, we're told go back 5 years ago and look at all the input that came. I've looked at all of that. I've watched every single minute of those town meetings. What I think is missing is that when the third plan came out in May of 2021, there was no justification for it. The architect wrote on page 9 of that, I think, due to input from the board, we're completely changing things, which caused massive disruption to things that are currently in place at Mountain View. And since that point, I don't believe there has been any town hall, there hasn't been any opportunity. I've actually been cut off when I've tried to talk about it at a board meeting, and to say, there are some discussions that I think need to be held based on the fact that there was a major change between option 1 and option 3 that was brought forward. And let me just put my 2 cents in here. I really think that one of those things that's missing for me is that apparently the decision has been made, and I'm not sure that anybody can explain the rationale for this, but the decision has been made to put a performing arts center in the middle of an athletic complex, and to take a noisy sport and the decision has basically now been made, apparently. That's no longer going to be at Mountain View, not even 10 years down the road. Instead, we're going to build a permanent solution at Lakeview on lakefront property, and somebody mentioned this. competing with fishermen, with lagoon visitors, with hillside walkers who love Serenity, and it's going to be clickety-clack, clickety-clack, clickety-clack all day long. And that discussion has not been held to my knowledge, and I understand that this is a minority position, but I just want to say to you, I miss that transparency as well.
Okay.
Look at that.
All right, let's
Michael,
hold on with the...
Michael, I would like to say that the decision about Lakeview was, that discussion was held with the pickleball board, and they are the ones that are in agreement with that.
I would like to
And
respond.
then, as far as changing the, I'm trying to be transparent about Mountain View, we were on hold for 90 days, so because that was pretty much for the new board members to get on board with what was already been put in place. So now that we're done with that, now we can start letting you guys know how we're proceeding, because you guys have to realize this is not their first rodeo. Our management team, they know how to do this. They did Fairway. They tore it all the way down to the ground and rebuilt it. So they know what steps to use. They know how to do this. They have already been through this several times.
Okay. Thank you, darling. Okay. Mr. Pearson.
Easy on the mister. Bill Pearson, 133438. This has been an interesting meeting. I wasn't going to speak, but I can't sit there any longer. Susan, you're right. The bylaws do say Mr. Cook can't reject it. It's a board decision not to give out numbers. Follow your board policies. That's why they're there. Thank you. Barb Wagers got up and spoke about the City of Volunteers. That is our identity. That is who we are. The decision to become the fun city takes away our identity.
Okay.
And I would only suggest that when you saw that flurry of hands out there, we like that idea. The hospital opened in 1971. A year later, they had 1,000 volunteers there. 31 churches all have volunteers. A number of the thrift stores all have volunteers. Every club has 4 officers, 130, whatever there are. Jolene knows better than me. We survive with volunteers. We are the cheapest because we have volunteers, Bill. That was our identity, why we worked. Why we're as good as we are is because all of us in this community put up our hands and said, we'll do it. Don't take away our identity. That's foolishness. It was foolish the day they did it. It changed the dynamic in the community, and now every organization, coupled with what happened in COVID, is struggling to find volunteers. Restore our identity. That's a pretty simple fix. Golf outside play, thank you for bringing it up. Alicia, I haven't seen you in a long time. Her husband was on the board, by the way, a long, long time ago. So here's the numbers. On outside play, full play passes. 2020, when COVID hit, the only game in town, Bill, you said that golf saved our butts. We could debate that, but I don't want to. You were selling roughly 50 full play passes to outside members. $2,000, no cart, $2,500 if you have a cart. The next year, 2021, the one we just escaped, you doubled the sale of outside passes. I mean, those are your numbers off your website. I do look. And so that outside play, here's how bad this gets. And I didn't realize that you could go on the web portal and sign up, or that you had benefits over and above people that lived here. But I'm going to tell you something. Here's the simple math. I live in Peoria, pay my $2,500 and get a cart when I get on your course, and I play 100 times, I now pay $25 a round. If I play 200 times, I pay $12.50 a round. If I want to go out with my wife and play every Sunday, if I can get on the course, during the high season, I'll pay $34. Explain the logic of why we would let somebody living in Peoria, Glendale, or Surprise pay half, a third less than somebody that lives here and subsidizes golf, by the way, and we'll get to that in coming sessions. By the way, all of you should refresh yourselves when it comes to 990s. I beg you, get the 990s from Mr. Cook, because it will be a subject as we move down this road in these meetings. But for now, look at what Alicia said. There's no member, no person living outside of Sun City that should walk on our courses and pay a cheaper rate than what anybody living here pays. It's illogical. It's nonsensical. You measure the success of golf by the numbers of rounds played. That means nothing if people are paying $5 to golf. Guys, it's economics. It's mathematics. You can't run a golf course selling full play passes when people play $5 a round or $10 a round. You can't do it. But that's a discussion down the road, and I have a lot of ideas, and I'll share them with you. But this one item, what are you smiling at?
Well, because you haven't given us a chance to check on that information yet, and you're scolding us for not giving us
I'm not on the board, and I know those numbers. Here's your job as a board member. You should know them.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the procedure. You haven't given us a chance to check on the procedure. As far as I know,
Darla, you've been on the board for 3 years. You should know that.
As far as I know, members can check in for tee times 10 days ahead, and non-residents have to wait till like 5 days ahead.
Okay.
So
check into it. Thank you.
I was giving you a chance. I will.
I will. I'll eagerly await your answer.
All right.
I'm serious. I eagerly await your answer, and I'll be back to ask. The 5 years added over, and this is off the top of my head, Bill, about being fiscally conservative. You took the largest increase we've seen in years in 2018 to cover the cost of the lawsuit that we were involved in. We haven't had an increase, you're right, but we also added $5 or $6 million to our reserve account, which it's not. It's our cash forward balance. I have those numbers. Again, they're on the website. You're right. You haven't hidden them. I just never looked at them. But when the comment was made a couple of months ago, I started looking. I was shocked. Those carry forwards are, as Mike said, just stop and think about this, guys. $1.5 million, $1.8 million, $2 million carry forward, and then we see a report where we were with IT. That money didn't belong going in the bank. It belonged in investing in the infrastructure of this community. Your web portal went down twice in the last month? 3 times? I don't know, a lot. Why? Because our IT isn't. I'm not blaming anybody here. It isn't any of your fault. But I will tell you, starting back before 2010, committees were saying to the board and the management team, you gotta fix the IT problems. And it wasn't a priority, so we just ignored it. And now we're mired up to here, our neck, in IT problems. We can't fix our security issues in this community until we fix our IT. You know that, Bill. You're smart enough to realize that. You can't rewrite history. You can't change what happened. And I'm not trying to. I'm looking forward. Fix IT, get security up to speed, quit saving money and start spending it for the things we need. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I want to say something. Okay.
Michael, I think we just gave $500,000.
Well,
Was it? What did we? To start working on the IT problem? That was a start. I mean, I think we just approved that. Am I right? Yeah.
Yes, we did just approve it. I do want to say, though, that in the past, we have not had a technology committee. It was one of the things that we felt was important to get that. We were lucky to have Kat on the board with her technology knowledge to help us, and we know that we need to move ahead on technology. And in order to do our security, we have to have the technology in place in order to handle it. So to me, we're moving forward now. Should the technology been done beforehand? Yeah, I wish it would have been too. But this is where we're at, and now we have to move forward with it. And so the technology is moving ahead. That's where we're going.
Okay, Alan, you want to make a comment?
Darla addressed the fact that this board has acted this year to begin to solve the technology problem and authorize the money that was requested. So if we talk about what we're doing, that's one of the things we're working on, and everybody on the board is working together for that. Thanks.
Okay. All right, next speaker.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, hey, Michael, hold on. He'll turn you on.
I just want to mention, I don't want to miss an opportunity to mention Mr. Byrd, who set forth the plan and is implementing the plan, and from what I have observed, is doing a superb job. Your IT at the moment is in good hands.
Okay. Thank you, Kat. Okay, next speaker, please.
Okay, thank you. Linda McIntyre, 123216. I want to jump off a little bit on the volunteer comments that have been made. It goes back to, I don't remember the gentleman's name, it goes back to an earlier board meeting about the club raising funds and donating to charitable organizations in the community, and then making comparable donations required to RCSC. I'd like the board to consider rethinking that policy. I think with the amount of funds that RCSC has, in looking at the financial statement for the year end December 31st, the income and expenses, it looked to me like the clubs donated about $23,000 to RCSC. Those clubs are all volunteers. They raise those money through fundraising, through their time, their talents. Many of those club members probably made items through their clubs. They donated those to fundraisers. We're all members in the community. We all pay our rec fees, rec assessments. I think it's a short-sighted policy of the RCSC that we donate a like amount to RCSC. I don't know how those monies are used. I don't see any line item that RCSC donates that money to the foundation. I assume I'm making an assumption that it just goes into the general operating funds. I think that $23,000 could be much better used by our clubs to donate that money either to the foundation or other charitable causes. Someone mentioned the top 3 organizations, the Posse, the Prides, the third one, Sunshine. A club I'm involved with this year doubled our donations from $500 in 2019, which then we gave $500 to RCSC. This year it was $1,000, and we donated $1,000 to RCSC. Frankly, I would have much rather given that to those other organizations. We usually donate to the Posse, Prides, the fire department. I really, really wish you'd reconsider that. I think the foundation, looking at the foundation numbers, they could definitely use the money. I just really think it's short-sighted and unnecessary. And I just want to address a comment made by Director Atkins as it goes to Director McAdams' comment about the pickleball courts at Lakeview. I don't think there was any discussion about that. If the pickleball club was addressed and they knew about it, I don't know where anybody else knew about it. That goes to transparency, and I don't know where anybody made a decision about any money that's going to be spent. That's a board decision somewhere along the line.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, agreed. And there hasn't been a final decision made. So, I mean,
It seems to me that the pickleball club, from my understanding, thinks it's done. If they voted on it, that's what, at least that's the rumor in the community.
okay, so I'd be happy to address this. The pickleball club came and said, this is...
Pickleball board.
Pickleball board, excuse me, came and said, here's a wish list. Now, it will go on down the pipeline and to the board and be reviewed and voted on. So there's no final decision, there's no promises made. We're in the process of taking a look at what the options are to provide pickleball courts as we dismantle pickleball courts at Mountain View. But there's no final decision made. There's no budget's been approved. It's just, but there has been some discussions, but kind of like was mentioned earlier, that you got to talk to the people that would be utilizing the facility to understand what their wants and wishes are, what their requirements are. So that's what's going on.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, thank you for your attention.
Mike? I would just like to address the donation part, what that you're talking about. A club can make a donation to the foundation, and they do not have to make a matching donation then to RCSC. It just goes strictly to the foundation. So that is the one area that you can contribute to that does not have to have matching funds. The reason for the matching funds is if we did not have that, it would affect our 501c4 status. And so that protects not only RCSC, but it protects all the clubs.
Can you explain why that would affect the status?
Bill?
Well, Bill has.
So the 501c4, any activities associated with a 501c4 has to be to the, any funding, any expenses has to be to the benefit of the members. And therefore, without that, the money that comes back to RCSC then that goes back to the membership. So that's why it's done that way.
Okay, I'll take that under advisement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Susan Bjork, 112-650.
Michael, I think she's been waiting.
Who's been waiting?
Oh, you were saying, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
No, go ahead.
Okay, you okay? All right.
It might be a good suggestion to put that on the website if that's actually accurate. Sue, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, it's not really an issue that I'm that concerned about, but if it does, then if you have it on the website, again, it goes back to transparency. Why I'm up here now is because we forgot about raising of hands. Of course, there's a lot of people that have left now, but transparency and fiduciary due diligence, just seeing that, how many believe that that's something that's needed? Exactly. And then Bill Cook, he mentioned that the golf memberships that are allowed to members outside, they get better benefits than us, which I do believe is true because I've had guests that I haven't been able to get tee times for. How many believe that it's not appropriate? So when they do research it, even though they should already know about these memberships, when they do research it, how many believe that that should be disbanded, that there should be, the members should get better opportunities for golf than outside members or outside people? Exactly. Okay, so thank you. That's all I wanted to do because
thank you.
That's.
Yeah, we asked for a show of hands on that earlier.
What I'm saying is that when I say I want to research it is because I believe different than you do. So I'm thinking, I know this is a procedure in place, and what you're saying is contradictory with what I've been told and what I know. So what I want to go back is check on the information with Brian to see exactly what the deal is, because as far as I know, what I'm hearing from you guys is not what I've been hearing.
Okay. So not just from
So it's not, and I agree that members should get priority because that's what we're here for. So that's what I wanted to check on because as I've been told that our members do get priority. So I want to check on it and make sure that my information is right, not talk off the top of my head. That's what I'm saying.
And that it's carried out the way that it should be carried out.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. All right, so you want to, sorry, I didn't see you sitting there.
That's okay. I just wanted to, between Kat's question and Jolene, I'm sorry I didn't hear your answer. I just wanted to clarify that the marquees I am talking about are on.
Your name and number, please.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Barb Wagers,
Yeah, I knew you were up here.
114211.
Thank you.
The marquees I am talking about are on RCSC property.
Right.
the 8 at the rec center, Sun Bowl, I can only think of those 9. They are owned by RCSC and controlled, the information on them are controlled by RCSC, so you do have the ability to change them.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Agreed. Okay, thank you. Okay, next
Hi,
speaker.
Uh,
my name is Anita Dahl, 151991. You can tell by my number we're fairly new. So I just came, I had no intention of speaking, I just came to learn about my community. This is totally different than the community we came from, where we're used to the mayor, councilman, et cetera. This is an unincorporated corporation. And so from what I understand, the board is in charge, and then you give your direction to the management community. And I just want to say my stomach is so upset right now from what I witnessed. Mr. Egge got up after someone said, we want to see more transparency, and he looked over at Mr. Cook and said, maybe we can add a page and tell these things. And Mr. Cook said, I will not. So when does an employee have the right to do that to an employer? Or am I totally misunderstanding? Mr. Cook may have said it out of anger because there is a lot of feelings, but I want to say that just upset my stomach something awful because Mr. Egge's in charge right now. And I just wanted to bring that up. And I just think it's important that the executive committee or the board knows they're in charge, and that I don't want you to be railroaded over. I know you're volunteers and you do a wonderful job. But that really, really upset me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
If I could address that?
Okay, please, Bill.
So, to address that, my feeling is that the management report gives, everything that I've heard is in the management report. What I'm hearing is that we want detail down to the project level, and that's something from an operational perspective, the board is not, is not responsible for. They give that responsibility to me and my staff from an operational perspective. They either trust that operationally we're doing what we should be doing or not. Otherwise, you'll see a red status for each of the projects. If there's red status across the board, then I'm not doing my job. So what I'm saying is that I don't want to get down to the detailed level. That's all I'm saying. Everything else, if there's more information that we want out of the management report, as a matter of fact, the management report was enhanced based on feedback from you and from the board. So we put in the budgetary amount, what we spent, and then I was asked to do a dashboard to say red, green, or yellow, to say where are we with respect to that. So all of that has been put into the management report. So I asked that you look at the management report and look at it from a month-to-month basis, and I think the information you're looking for from a project perspective is there. Thank you.
Mr. Egge, I would just like to comment that, again, this is the member exchange, so the board is not here to make decisions on what's going to happen at this point. This is just to get information from you. It's not a board meeting.
Okay, Ms. Swenson.
Christy Svensson, 137489, and I don't recall that fellow's name who is the IT manager. What is his name?
Randy Bird.
Bird.
Randy Bird.
Randy Bird.
Betty Bird?
Yeah,
Randy Bird. Randy. Randy gave an impassioned plea for help with the IT because he was one person doing 1,000 things a day, putting out fires more than doing anything that was productive. Has staff been hired to help Randy with the IT? That's all I want to know.
Yes, and we're in the process of hiring more, so.
Good, I'm glad to hear that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is there anybody else that would like to speak, make a comment? Oh, here comes Jean.
Good morning again. Jean Totten, 148753. Just one comment about the red, yellow, and green. When you color them with that color, when you copy them, it just comes out black.
Yeah,
So
okay.
what we can do is we can write the words in there.
Okay, thank you. I know I listened in the beginning when Dale started, I really did, but could you just tell me or refresh my memory? So we're doing issues, and then we members are making suggestions if we have them, and then the third column is actions. So and then she also said at some time you will get back with us. Did I hear, is she getting back to us individually, those people who brought the question forward? Or is it at the next formal board meeting? Or is it the next meeting here? So the next time we meet, since this is the first one, you'll all be talking more. Is that right? You'll be addressing these? Have I got that wrong?
That's my understanding.
It's ongoing actions, and so we'll keep this list running. And so, yes, Dale will review it at the next board member exchange. She will go through it.
She'll review it and tell us if it's in a red, yellow, or green status?
Give you the status of it.
Okay. And then you all have to meet to do this, I take it? How can you do that if it's not in a structured board meeting? Is that something about a sunshine? I don't know. Somebody help me out here. I've seen it mentioned before where you can't meet and discuss things unless it's an official meeting.
No. That's only if you are a Title 33. We are a Title 10, which is different.
Oh, okay. Sorry, excuse me. Gosh, there were so many good topics today. I had no idea about golf. And I love the City of Volunteers as well. Oh, I know, one more thing. Director Linesky, you had asked for the 90-day moratorium. How did that go? Did you hear from one person or 100 or nobody, or are we going to get any results, or everybody said we love it, we hate it? What happened?
I heard from a number of people, and a number of them were for the Mountain View project, a number of them were against it. I was told a number of things were wrong with it that needed to be looked at. I requested, to my knowledge, from my memory, I requested an answer to all of those things, which were satisfactorily given, which is why I decided to let the 90-day moratorium expire. But there were a number of really, really good questions. For example, there was a rumor going on that the Long Range Planning Committee had done plans or requests for the stuff to be at Mountain View. And there were like 30 or 40 of them. I didn't count the number of them. And there were like 3 or 4 that were not done. The one that comes to mind is on the want list was the rock climbing project. And the insurance company basically looked, I guess, at the previous board and said, not going to happen. Right. And there were 2 or other things like that. That's one. I asked why we went from 1 to 2 or phase 3, however you want to phrase it, and that was answered. So the 90-day moratorium was very, very important to me. And when I asked it, I didn't know whether I was going to vote for the Mountain View project or not, or let me rephrase it, vote to end the Mountain View project or not. And the answers were satisfactory to me, so that I decided that I was not going to oppose the Mountain View project. Thanks, Gene, for asking the question.
Sure. And so when you mentioned that the next step is to give clubs an opportunity to, like the basketball club, do something about the 55 and over. What about, so I can't, as just a person, say that I really think you need more than one lavatory for ladies for every 70 women, or, because that was mentioned, or that why are you placing the volleyball playing pool east and west? I think direct sunlight will probably affect some serves, et cetera. It's too late to say that? Oh, I just did. Oh, sorry. Is it too late to bring up those kind of comments?
Is that to me?
Well, Sue, weren't you the one who said that the members can take, yeah, because you went through the whole thing about how 5 years ago and, yeah, so.
Didn't they just meet with the volleyball club?
Who's talking?
I think the statement was made that Bill said he met with the water volleyball group recently to discuss the sports pool. But yes, this is the time for people to say what their issues and concerns about so that the architect can include those in the final design. So this is that opportunity, I think. I could be wrong. Mr. Cook?
Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
No, this is the time. We should be, everybody who's going to utilize that facility should be putting their list together of what are the major requirements and submitting those.
Well, like I said, I don't belong to the volleyball club, but I'm a member, and like I said, I'm interested in a number of bathrooms for the ladies. Thank you.
Gerard Dykstra, 148176. My question is in regards to communication with the board. At one time, some of my neighbors and I sent emails to the board at the RCSC address. It came to our attention that some of the board members never received those emails. They told us they had not received them. What is the proper way for a member to send something to each individual board member and be assured that they will receive it?
I mean, the only way I know is our email addresses that are listed on the RCSC website.
Okay, those do pass through another filter of sorts. I mean, do they go, if I send you an email to that email address, will you in fact receive it without anyone else filtering it as it goes?
Jolene?
Well, yeah, I'm Jolene, yeah.
Go ahead.
If you were to send Mike Eggy an email to meggie@suncityaz.gov, .gov, it won't go, or .org, thank you. It won't go anywhere but to Mike.
Well, it's not, okay, so it goes directly to the person.
To the individual board member, goes exactly to them.
Okay, and if I were to send a paper document addressed to each individual board member, would I be assured that that paper document would reach that board member?
Yeah, please.
The receptionist at the front desk will give those documents to me, and I can get them directly to the board.
And if I put it in the U.S. Postal Service? Okay, that's what I wanted clarification, because that was not my experience previously, and I really think it's important for me as a member to be able to send items to individual board members if I have concerns. And apparently that is the case, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Susan Bjork, 112650. I just wanted to give you an example of transparency of fiduciary due diligence, and that is with the 90-day moratorium. If that research that you did, Director Allen, was disclosed to all of us, the questions may not be there, but from what we see, nothing happened with the 90-day moratorium. And from my emails back and forth, there was confusion, and as you know, that's why I asked for the documents, because I was trying to educate myself. Another area is when asked about the bylaw progress, you said we're moving along, but I think everybody here would like to know kind of what the process is and what is the mindset of everybody on that team, and how are you going about it? Because are you adding or are you subtracting? What's happening with the bylaws? And because I wasn't picked, I did, at many members' requests, I did apply, but I wasn't selected. Apparently, there were many more with more qualifications, so that's fine. You saved me the hassle. But I think those are two areas of ways you can be better transparent.
Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. The first thing we had to decide was whether or not how we were going to proceed. I mean, this is a big project. It's 36 pages. And what we decided to do was break it down into basically 3 categories. Category is stuff that, and all this is subject to change because we're going to be going through it thoroughly. One was things that need to be in the bylaws. That doesn't mean that we agreed that the current wording or the current way it is done should be in the bylaws, but the areas that should be in the bylaws. For instance, you need a board of directors, right? So that's one. The second area, which we dealt with, is there are some people who believe that certain things should be policies and certain things should be bylaws, right? And we color-coded these. And we'll be going through those too. And the third thing is things that we think should be policies, right? We haven't worked out exactly how to do that. And we're going to be going into, hopefully today, going through this stuff. And it's most likely going to be confidential from this point on, at least for a few weeks, because we're going to be negotiating things. We're going to be going through the things. And we're going to get into that. What we have not yet decided on how to do, and this is going to need consultation with the board, is let's assume we want something as a policy. Are we going to send it all at once to the board, or are we going to piecemeal this stuff? And in the selection process, at least from my perspective, I wanted people with diverse viewpoints. Some, I'm sure, may agree with me on some things. Some I know disagree with me on some things. And a couple other people I don't know at all, right? They're just on there. So you're asking what their viewpoints are. We haven't got that far yet. But I think we're making progress. I think we've got good people on it. And I think it's a very important project. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other speakers?
Okay, nobody else?
Larry Carson, 56286. I don't attend many of these board meetings, but I can, the short time I've been here tonight or today, it seems like there's a really lack of communication from the administration staff to the board to the members. You guys serve at the pleasure of the members, and the guys that run this place, Cook or whoever you guys are, serve at the pleasure of the board. And it occurs to me that there's a total lack of communication between what you guys do and how you communicate that to the members that you're responsible for. Like this Mountain View project, that's $38 million, that's a lot of money. And from my understanding, there hasn't, it ought to be based on a cost analysis basis rather than just somebody coming in and say, we'd like to have this or we'd like to have that. It's your board responsibility to make sure that you're spending the money wisely on behalf of the members. Another thing, like the Viewpoint project, why don't you fill the damn thing up with dirt rather than spend $8 million on a liner that's going to leak anyway? But to me, it's just totally frustrating. And I came down here to play golf, and that's what I enjoy doing. And this is the second meeting I've been to, but I can understand the frustration. A lot of these members that come here to board meetings and they don't get information back. They don't know how you make decisions. They don't know how the administration works. And there's no connection between any of these things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Linda McIntyre, 123216. I just have a question for the Long Range Planning Committee. Who's the chair? Sorry. And I haven't looked at the long range plan, so forgive me for that. But is there a plan for Oakmont in the future? I don't know what's been done at Oakmont, so forgive me for that. So okay. I know that must be one of the older facilities, so.
Okay. I'll tell you what the Long Range Planning Committee is doing. It's looking at long-range plans. As for the specifics of Oakmont, I'm going to have to defer to Mr. Cook. We're looking at the long-range plans. We've done a few things over the last couple of years. I've been on it for about a year. For instance, the security initiative was originated in the Long Range Planning Committee. That's led to some information on technology, which has led in some degree to addressing the technology problem. We're addressing the fitness centers at the moment. There's a few things that I want to do that I'm going to be discussing with the committee next Monday. They've also addressed something that was addressed here, and that has not yet been resolved, which is the updates, like with the management report, transparent enough? I mean, it goes into great detail, or do we need to tweak that? That was one of the things that has not been resolved with the Long Range Planning Committee. But my intention is to have it look long range at like what would they like, a master plan, or, you know, just in general, and then looking at where they want that kind of thing. Because the Long Range Planning Committee, as all committees, are just advisory. They advise the board. So that's where we're going with that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sort of. Was Marinette finished as it was proposed? I mean, was everything finished there in terms of?
Marinette was built when I moved in. In fact, that's the rec center that's closest to me. I have to defer, I'll defer to General Manager Cook. He may or may not know the answer to that. I don't off the top of my head. That happened long before I got here.
So with respect to Oakmont, I believe this board approved the PIF that shows our long-range plan on spending the PIF funding. And so at this point, Lakeview is next after Mountain View. So Oakmont is not in the current PIF plan. With respect to Marinette, as far as I know, there's nothing that was not accomplished that was supposed to be accomplished at Marinette. I'm not aware of anything.
Okay, and the Lakeview being next means what?
It means it's in line to be either torn down and replaced, or we don't know. But there's a placeholder for the PIF. So we're just not at that phase yet.
And do you know what the year is for that, or tentative?
I believe it's 2030. I can't remember. I don't quote me on that, but it's far out there. It's 10 plus years out. So we still have to complete Mountain View, and then Lakeview will be in. But I believe the PIF is out on our website. Jolene, correct me if I'm wrong, right? So you can look at that, and that will show you what year that is.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. And I'd just like to ask the lady over here who was raising your hand, did you want to get up and speak? Sitting in the back row over here. Not you, the lady sitting kind of an orange-colored top. You had your hand up a little bit ago.
She was just.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Well, probably because I kind of quit thinking about it, and some of this gets contentious and back and forth, and I apologize, but I just, you know, when we started kind of getting aggressive with one another, I kind of got lost track a little bit. But say again? Understand. Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Susan Bjork again, 112650. Marcia, because of the contention and my irritability, you probably missed this, but lack of communication between the board and management, which has come up, you know, multiple times. My suggestion was when you have a motion such as the 90-day moratorium or the ad hoc bylaws, instead of just saying we're making progress, if there's a little bit more expounding upon it or a little bit more detail provided, that might satisfy some of the members and it might limit some of the questions that come. So that's a suggestion for that particular issue.
Okay, so show of hands. I mean, if people feel, okay. All right, thank you. Thanks for reminding me. Okay, any other speakers? Any other questions, comments? Okay. Seeing none or hearing none, does anybody on the board have anything? Okay. So I was asked by Dale, and I think this is a good question to ask. How do you guys feel about this format, this style of meeting? Do you feel it's helpful so far? Show of hands? Okay, good. So we're, at least directionally, I think we're moving forward and look forward to doing more of this. Can, okay.
There's no action.
There's not action yet.
Yeah, the actions is what,
Yes, there was some.
Oh, I see.
Right there. That's it.
Why is there no suggestions on communication?
well, it's one thing, as Sue explained earlier, that we'll take it under advisement and get back to you guys and with, you know, what our thoughts are, findings, and what the next steps are.
But on everything else, you have suggestions.
So
Well-
what's the suggestion?
Take under advisement the suggestions that were just made. That's why I did that.
Okay, I'm not sure I knew what suggestions were made.
Mike, are you asking
so-
for something that says improved communication?
No, I specifically pointed out that on
This one right here, the lack of
Well,
communication?
why don't you come up to the, I'm having problems hearing you.
Yeah.
I specifically pointed out that on motions such as the 90-day moratorium, when there's follow-up that needs to be done and you come back to discuss them rather than say, and the bylaws, rather than say it's in progress or, you know, we move forward. I don't think we got anything on the 90-day moratorium because I don't remember, but be more detailed or, you know, expound a little bit more and it might reduce the questions. If you just put it as a reminder, instead of just saying, yeah, we're moving forward, we're making progress, if you provide a little bit more detail, I think it's gonna lessen the questions, and that's what everybody here just said they would like to see. Because a lot of times when you do have motions that are followed up on, and you come back, then you're just brief about, you know, what might have occurred. And sometimes we don't get any detail. And so that might be a way to do it. So
Okay.
take that under advisement.
Okay, show of hands, does that sound helpful? Okay,
Got it.
okay. And again, no excuses here, but this is our first attempt at this, so we're going to go through some growing pains, and we appreciate your input, and we do hear you, because we don't want the frustration
Michael,
either.
I wanted just to remind everybody, this is not our first board member exchange that we've ever done. This is a new format for it. So that's why we keep saying new.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because this predates me. This is my first member board exchange. Did I get that right? I think. Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, great. So I want to remind everybody to turn your ringers on your cell phones.
Next board meeting.
And our next board meeting is, Marcia? I don't have a date in front of me.
Next board meeting, April
Next board-
28th.
Is it the 28th?
Yes.
Last Thursday of the month? Okay. And we look forward to seeing you there. Okay. All right, thank you.
This is a copywritten production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.